Philadelphia. What comes to mind? Ben Franklin? The Liberty Bell? Rocky? Cheesesteaks? The combined influence of history, entertainment, commercialism, and tourism have turned these things into the very symbols of all that Philadelphia is and stands for. However, these things have very little to do with what actual life in Philadelphia is all about. The different tourism organizations in Philadelphia aim to portray Philly as a utopia by presenting it in a very specific way. However, in showing only choice parts of the city, this inadvertently makes the city a bit of a dystopia, sweeping its real culture under the rug. Actually living in Philly, you see that the city, while maybe not a utopia, is great both for the historic and commercial aspects advertised, and for the hidden gems of Philadelphian culture and character. To examine this, we headed down to Center City to see Philadelphia through the lens of different transportation systems. By tour bus, by foot, and by sea bus. We started our day on the upper level of a double-decker tour bus. Beginning in Old City, the tour took us through some of the nicest parts of town, focusing in on tourist attractions. We got on the tour bus at the Bourse, then proceeded to historical attractions such as the Betsy Ross House, the U.S. Mint, and the Masonic Temple. We continued to other tourist attractions such as the Constitution Center, Chinatown, and Eastern State Penitentiary. As we traveled through the historical section, we learned highly important information, such as Ben Franklin's favorite ice cream flavor, juicy red tomato, and visiting the tourist attractions yielded new knowledge such as everything you never knew about Al Capone, Eastern State's most famous prisoner. When we stopped at Logan Park, the tour guide pointed out the beauty of the park, the magnificence of the fountain, and what a wonderful place it was to hang out and enjoy yourself. Unsurprisingly, he did not mention what Jane Jacobs observed about the park on page 93 of The Death and Life of Great American Cities. That, due to the difficulty of getting there on foot, it remains mostly an elegant amenity for those speeding by in their cars. When we pulled up to the art museum, the first thing the tour guide pointed out was the Rocky statue. He continued talking about Rocky for the next several minutes of the tour, failing to talk much about the actual art museum, besides as a building whose steps Rocky famously ran up. Rocky continued to be mentioned all throughout the tour, wherever the guide could find a way to make him fit. Heading to the waterfront, we drove up Pine Street, passing through the neighborhood. Despite the rainbow street signs and rainbow flags, the tour guide did not mention that we were driving through the neighborhood, instead calling it the Antiquing District. The tour avoided the majority of South Street, not turning onto it until 5th Street to head towards Penn's Landing. The tour showed us Society Hill, St. Peter's Basilica, museums, parks, historical buildings, statues, and expensive restaurants, but avoided nightlife, tattoo parlors, and everyday places to shop, eat, and hang out. All the things mentioned on the tour are a part of what makes Philadelphia what it is. However, it carefully chose what to show off about Philadelphia in order to portray Philly as an artsy, historical utopia of brotherly love. In doing this, it left out some great things about Philadelphia that you have to look elsewhere to find. To see the city from a different point of view, we rode the sea bus from City Hall back up to Temple. We were obviously unable to film the goings-on of the inside of the bus, but that didn't stop us from observing, and what we did observe inside the bus was much more noteworthy than watching the city go by outside the window. The bus was very crowded, filled with people just going about their day. Despite the crowd and the lack of enough seats, everything operated in a very calm fashion, with people helping and cooperating with each other. There were 3 particular instances of people helping each other that we all took note of while riding. First, a man in a wheelchair got on the bus. Before the man even got on, the people in the front right area of the bus saw him through the window and, without being told to do so, began getting up and getting the area ready for him. The driver pushed the seats in, and several of the people who had previously been sitting there helped the man get situated in that area, securing the wheelchair to the bus. Everyone else quickly shifted to accommodate both the wheelchair and the 6 or 7 more people who were now standing. The bus continued to fill up, and we noticed that, as people got on at each stop, others would switch seats or offer up their seats so that people with young children could sit with their kids. Lastly, throughout the bus ride, there was a front to back of bus communication system going on. The bus stopped wherever people needed to get off along Broad Street, so when people did need to get off, they had to somehow let the driver know. On a crowded bus, this was sometimes difficult, so a few people in the middle would listen for where the people in the back of the bus needed to get off, and they would communicate it to the driver. In passing, these things may not seem particularly noteworthy. However, they are